So at this time, it's my super great pleasure to introduce our guest panelist today. Brian knew exactly what he wanted to do and how to get there, and I believe that he's going to tell you a pretty interesting before and after story related to Pacific Crest. So, Brian, can you hear me, sir?
I can. How do I sound?
Oh, you sound awesome. Thank you again for joining us today. I know that it's a great blessing not only to me, but I know it's a great blessing to those who are participating on this webcast. You know, I'm sure they tolerated hearing from me some of the amazing things that you can do with Production Coach, but I know for a fact that they love hearing it much more from actual customers. So thank you for that. Brian, if I could ask a favor, if you would tell us a little bit more about Pacific Crest and your role in the organization.
You bet. So I am the Chief Operating Officer for Pacific Crest Building Supply. We are located just north of Portland, Oregon, and have about a 200,000 square foot manufacturing facility here. We've been around for 50 years, well, 51 years this year, and we produce, you know, depending on the time of year, we produce close to 100,000 cabinets a year, typically 20 to 25 homes a day, depending on the size. So that's every single day rolling out of here, and you know, we've been doing that for a long time. We service many of the western states, and we ship daily to Washington, Idaho, Oregon, Arizona. Mostly, I'd say about half of our work is builder direct, working with large builders such as like D.R. Horton, Lennar, Taylor Morris, those types of names. And then we also operate multifamily. We operate distribution and retail dealer and remodel dealer networks throughout those states as well. And so we try to stay pretty diverse in there. So that's our base here.
That is awesome. Thank you very much for that. Would you share with the attendees maybe some of the symptoms that you guys were experiencing that caused you to even consider a software like Production Coach? What kind of challenges were you facing in manufacturing execution?
So our story might be a little bit different. Not to say that we were facing challenges, but to say that we needed something to enable growth for us, which I think might be the same thing. And so I've been with this company for about 10 years and in the cabinetry world for about 20, manufacturing in general for almost 25. And, you know, companies evolve and grow over time. And this company specifically is about 8 times the size it was when I started. And, you know, for us, we haven't grown since implementing the software, but it's giving us the tools to get over some hurdles. And so we, of course, had a lot of goals for what we wanted to do in manufacturing. And we had, in about every case, for what we were using Production Coach for, we had either analog, you know, time-consuming and possibly, you know, full of error systems, or we had software, we had digital systems, or we used spreadsheets. And so we had a lot of different things we were doing to make this beast work the way that we wanted it to. And so we wanted to, you know, I've used a lot of industry softwares over the years and in different manufacturing. You know, I've used stuff from Epicor, I've used 2020, evaluated enterprise softwares, and found that for this industry, you know, Production Coach, I believe, offered the best solution to enable a lot of the automation we wanted to do. And so our big goal was to get all of our data in one location so that we could really use that data on a real-time basis to cut down on the time people were spending looking for information, and to automate a lot of the processes, and to use the software to help us be more lean and to improve our quality control. And so I've got a lot of examples of how we've used Production Coach in that, if you'd like me to run through them on there, Sean.
Yeah, please, if you would. I've only got to hear some little bits of those. One in particular that I just thought was so inventive from you guys was how you are using, and I'm not trying to guide you on the things to say. I want this to be your words, your stuff, but I at least heard something I thought was pretty fascinating, that prior to Production Coach, you guys we're facing some challenges with getting the right hinges or drawer slides or whatever in the right conditions, and you used advanced instruction to be able to make it super simple to always get that right. So yeah, please tell us some of the exciting ways that you're using the software.
Great. Yeah. So so a little bit about our factory floor. So we operate 2 shifts. We cut with beam saws and then filter that through our machining department into assembly. And then we have 2 areas where horizontal boring takes place, and that's where the part sorting is done. We sort to 3 assembly tables into 3 clamps and then down a final assembly line. So our biggest first goal with the software was to eliminate all the paperwork on our production floor. And as I said, we produce, let's say 20 kitchens a day on average, and we were producing 9 packets of paperwork or 10 packets of paperwork for each one of those jobs for different departments. And so my estimation is that we were printing about 2,000 pieces or 2,000 spaces of paper a day. And since implementing Production Coach, so we're implemented from the start of production cutting all the way to our shipping department. We haven't done the job site stuff yet, but that's next on the list. So now that we're fully implemented, we've cut out about 2,000 sheets of paper being printed every day, and drastically reduced the amount of time that our employees spend looking for paper, marking stuff off, making lists, and going through that. We have used the ability to have the reports loaded right in there with the jobs for people to be able to access information. Anywhere on the production floor, they're able to select an information scan any part or product, and know where it should be in the production process. And so that was one of our biggest goals, and that happened relatively easy once we implemented the software. Another thing we wanted to automate was QC check, both in 2 different ways, with letting our employees know when something was special about a product. And so on the assembly line, this is kind of part of the hinging thing you mentioned there too. So on the assembly line, we have a station that we call the ringmaster, but when something is clamped, it gets scanned, and at that scan, a product label is made, and all those parts come out of the system and become a product within the system. Using the advanced information in there, we have been able to notify that person at the clamp whether or not there's anything special about that product where it needs special attention. This is one of many examples, but if it has file drawers, if it has, even down to the point to where if a specific customer has a specific request about a treatment of the product, or if we've been seeing specific QC issues with that product, we can flag that within the system, and then when it's scanned there at that station, one of our solutions, we like to do visual stuff here, and so take the guesswork out. So at that station, the product label is printed out. The operator is notified there's something special about the product, and in our case, we decided to put a big orange cone on that product to win down the line. Now, something, it seems pretty simple, but for us, that then tells everyone else in the rest of the line that they need to look at that product when it comes to them, even though they're going to scan it anyway. And so specialty hardware is flagged that way. Pullouts, special work has to be done there, and then as it goes down each station, they know that there's something special about it. At the hinging station, we've used the same. So our products go down this line, and we use single point of contact so that we know when it happens. We know the one place it happens in the shop. And so at the hinging station, we were having issues with soft close versus non-soft close hinges being put in there. Dudley, who comes and helps with the implementation, one of the gentlemen does that, has been an amazing partner and instrumental in helping us here. Helped us set up a way on that to where when you scan the cabinet, the screen just pops up with a colored rectangle that represents the color of the bin that the correct hinges are in. And so instead of, for training purposes, like instead of an employee needing to know model numbers or needing to know information about the hardware itself, they just get a red box. They look at the red bin, that's the correct hardware to use. And, we have ideas to expand that into a bunch of other areas as well. Further down the assembly line, when it gets to we have unfortunately not value added but value enabled station just called quality control. When they scan the product as well, anything that's been put in the system that is imperative to the product being correct pops up on the screen, and they know then to double check for that within there before it goes into the shipping area. We previously had an issue where maybe half of our file drawer hangers got installed and they just slipped through on that. Well, now every time a file drawer cabinet goes through, a big warning pops up on the screen and it says, make sure the files are hardware's in there, and then they have to clear that warning and they know the product's in there. And so there's a lot of possibilities for that, but that's the way that we've utilized those special instructions to really get rid of a lot of the errors we were finding on our assembly line, and to reduce a lot of the time guys spend or people spend on the production floor looking for the information on those special products. They can access it as soon as they scan the cabinet. They can access the entire cut list and drawing directly through the interface. So
that's awesome.
Sean, I could go on a while. If you want to break it up into the specific questions or whatnot, but.
Yeah, if you don't mind, just so we do this, you mentioned Dudley and implementation. So just so that everybody knows, Mr. Dudley Petrie, one of our great implementers, has had a vast amount of experience in the wood industry, is a brilliant guy, very customer orientated, and he got to work with Brian. And so one of the fears, I think, Brian, that people have with implementing something like Production Coach is that it's going to take too long, it's going to be too hard. Would you mind to kind of share a little bit? I know that your project, because it was enormous, ended up being in 2 different implementations, but will you kind of help everybody understand a little bit about what that experience is like?
So we have a whole team here and like you said, our project was very large. I think we're around that 45 station size. And we're using some stations just for info scanning purposes. We're using some just for recut purposes, which we've get information on that. But Dudley came in 2 different trips, and we put a lot of prep work into those trips. But he was able in both cases to accomplish our goals for each step. And my guess would be, you want to be ready for the implementation when Dudley comes. But you could most likely, if you were to say a 5 or 6 station implementation like that starter package you discussed, my guess is that Dudley could be here for about 2 days, have every employee trained on it, and you'd be sorting and assembling parts and getting shipping done pretty effectively by the time that was done. I'm not sure how to relate our implementation to a smaller one, but I can say that it's kind of nerve-wracking thinking of the idea of someone coming in and trying to help you implement a system over top of your existing processes, but it went very well. There's a lot of ways the system can be used, and it melds very well. It's designed to work with our industry and our manufacturing type. We're not making rocket ships, we're making cabinets for the most part, and the implementation goes very smooth. And I'm not sure if I answered your question you're looking for there, but we couldn't have done it without Dudley, and we're looking forward to having him back maybe for a 3rd time just as we get into data mining.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of the big data and stuff's pretty amazing. So I know one of the other fears that companies have is, are you really going to be able to use my data? I believe if I got this correct, you guys are using Cabinet Vision, and so would you mind just speaking to the fact, because you talked about some pretty automated, pretty amazing things, how it knew to flag, certain products and do, a number of things. And so I hope that the takeaway from this is that it's a one-time integration to your Cabinet Vision and a single-time setup for these rules that then just happen automatically. Would you speak to that, please?
That is correct. Yeah, we have had no issues at all getting the right information, the information we wanted from Cabinet Vision into the system. In fact, we were able to, with our team here, we've actually been able to make the importing of the information into Production Coach. We've got it set up so that after our guys confirm a job in Cabinet Vision and double checked everything, it is actually a one button we push that implements it into the system, into Production Coach, and then it's just in there. It's very seamless, and we haven't had any issues with that. That brings up another note that our project's been going on for quite a while, just due to on our side of it. It took a long time to pick the software, a long time to design how we wanted it to work. We actually moved stuff on our production floor to better fit the way we wanted the software to work with us, even to that extent. But during that whole time, you guys at Production Coach have actually been making improvements to the software that has made the cabinet vision integration even better than it was. It worked great initially, and it's just gotten better since we started. So there's been continuous improvement that we've noticed, all around, which is a big part of our culture too. So we've appreciated that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one thing that it's pretty amazing when you enter a space like this. We came into the U.S. market in 2016, and the software was great and was very revolutionary. But we have had the pedal down on developing and improving and those kind of things since we were very blessed in 2018, the last IWF that was held for Production Coach to win the Challengers Award. And so it's nice to see some recognition in the industry. By the way, I know you haven't seen it yet, Brian, but this next version coming out shortly has got some pretty amazing features that I think will be very exciting for you as well. So thank you. Do you have anything else that would be helpful for those attending a webcast to maybe hear about your experience?
Well, we love the software, and we're very, very excited about the new features that are coming out there. One of the biggest things we've just now started using that I think you may have touched on a little bit, but tracking issues is turning out to be very beneficial for us. We do Pareto analysis on all of the defects and issues we have out on the shop floor, and we're finding now by using the damaged and alert systems in there that we are able to actually track on a real-time basis what common QC problems are happening literally to the hour and pull that information directly out of the warning center and actually do real-time adjustments for issues we're seeing on the production floor. And so you add that in there. Yeah, but no, it's a great software, and it took us a while to pick which one we wanted. I'm glad we picked Production Coach, and we're looking forward to growing with it. Our production floor is being designed right now for 300 cabinets a shift as we adjust it, and I think that this tool is gonna allow us to do that pretty seamlessly. So,
wow, love hearing great customer stories. So appreciate you so much. You've helped me open my eyes up even for some things that it was really interesting to me. I was working on a project in Tampa, and we weren't even implemented with Production Coach. And one of the challenges that they already foresaw was that, they had several hinge choices that looked very much like each other, and drawer slides that were not that different. Is it soft close or not, or whatever it was. And when I got to hear your story of how you use the instructions to overcome that and really simplify was amazing. They were talking about, opening and closing gates and all kinds of things that were going to be super expensive and a lot to automate. And so thank you for being innovative as well. I just wanted to stop for just a moment and just remind everybody in attendance that while I've been monitoring the questions section, I have not seen any questions, which usually means that I've either bored you to sleep, Brian has given you great information that you're thinking on, or that you just maybe didn't think about asking. So if you do have questions, please go ahead and find that in your section and just type a little quickie, and we'll try to answer those. Question can be directed to me or Brian. He's happy to answer your direct questions as well. And so just wanted to give you that as a little bit of a reminder. So, Brian, I want to come out and see you guys. It sounds pretty exciting. I don't know what the largest number of stations is for largest customer. I've been in some in the 40s and 50s for sure, but definitely you're one of our larger implementations. And I really appreciated what you said about the new customer bundle, because what you guys did is literally something that is very hard to pull off. We've had companies that have given us feedback over time and said, yeah, well, you know what, we just took on more than we could handle, but it sounds like your team really knew how to think through that. For those listening on the webcast, don't think that you have to be a Pacific Crest to implement Production Coach. We also have it in factories that are doing literally as little as tracking it to assembly and shipping. We've got others that are much, much larger. So it can be, probably I'd say that our smallest customer is maybe doing around $2 million a year. And then, of course, on the other side of it, much, much larger customers. So anyway, one thing that I do want to also mention while we're on the webcast today is at the very end of the webcast, there will be a little exit poll. And I know that nobody likes taking surveys and stuff, but if you would, there's just like 3 or 4 little quick questions, and they help us to know what kind of educational information that you guys from the industry are looking for, what we can do better within these webcasts. So if you would, please be sure to fill that out. We'll definitely appreciate that. So, Brian, anything else that you can think of before I let you go today?
Well, I've got a few other things I could add that we've used on the functionality that have been very helpful, if you'd like to hear them. Besides that, I'm just very excited to continue using the software and growing with it.
Yeah, you never know. It might just be one of the things that you share that is the aha moment for someone. I'll tell you a quick little funny story. Had a company out of Kansas that I had, done a lot of software projects with, and I introduced them to Production Coach, and I just couldn't get any interest at all out of them. And they, about 2016, somewhere in that range, tells you several years ago, the owner of the business, they were really, really busy, and it was the middle of summer, and they had some employees that were out or something, and jobs had to happen. And so he, of course, went down and did one of the least technical jobs, which happened to be sorting cabinets. And they didn't have a Production Coach system. And so after he spent a good portion of the day sorting through all of these parts, he called me on the phone and said, "Get that software in here. Now I understand what you've been telling me." And so you never know what that little nugget is. So please share anything you can think of that would be helpful.
Okay, well, I got 3 things we haven't touched on yet that have been very beneficial to us. Along with probably most of the manufacturers listening here, being as lean and just in time as possible is important to us. And so we worked for years on the best way to assemble and have drawers ready for cabinets, because, making them right on time with the cabinet can be kind of a hard thing. And so along with the paperless goal we had, one thing was to get the work in progress we had on drawers down to a minimum. And the majority of the drawers that we use these days are a nice, it's a Baltic birch, 9-ply plywood drawer box with a rounded over top with a nice finish on it, that we make components for, or we have strips in. And so we were able to, using the part routing information, we were able to actually put our drawer department right on our final assembly line. And they don't start making drawers now until that ringmaster station coming out of the clamps actually scans the cabinet. And then that new job starts. They actually can go through them, see what cabinets are coming down, and they just can access their cut list directly on the Production Coach product screen as the parts are coming at them. And we've gone from having, a whole shift worth of drawer boxes done and assembled down to literally just having a handful of drawer boxes at any time assembled, which of course cuts down on handling, overproduction, damage, all that kind of stuff. So that was beneficial that the system allowed us to do. Another one was organization for the shipping area. The system's designed to allow the person who is organizing the shipping area that when a product comes for a job, I think it's called staging in the system, they would typically scan that and assign it to a cell, and then the rest of the product would be assigned to those cells. So, back to the Cabinet Vision integration, we've been able to go in and allow a checkbox in Cabinet Vision that tells Production Coach whether or not a product should be cardboard boxed, or it should be spring wrapped, or it should be saran wrapped, or plastic wrapped. And that information then, when at the box scanner, in conjunction with the shipping information, we've been able to set it up so that before the cabinets make their way to the shipping department, our shipping manager can pre-assign cells for them in the system and the information. And at our final production station, when the cabinet product is scanned out at the boxing machine, when they scan it, Production Coach tells our boxer to either cardboard box it or just wrap it or pass it through. It also prints a secondary product label at that station that tells them which shipping cell it goes into. So it takes all that thinking out of the process there as well. And so that was that's number 2 of those 3. The third one, I'll try to be quick, is we have really been able to automate. So you can imagine, say we're doing 330 cabinets today, and you said there's say 10 parts a cabinet, so you're say 3,300 parts just for that day. Well, that's each day, and so our production cycle due to the finishing aspect of it is typically about 4 shifts from the time it's cut. So you can imagine each day that many parts in there. Well, so we come across a lot of parts that either go missing or need to recut, and so we've actually assigned a couple stations next to our panel saws, one in our finishing and door ordering department, that monitor the remake section. So along with tracking all the data, we're able to scan something. We use one of them for quality. We use the warnings for quality issues, and we use the alert for reorder issues. And those guys have a reminder every certain amount of time to come in and look at it. So at the same time that we're doing the data collecting of the issues that are popping up, we're also notifying specific stations within that every 15 minutes or so they check them of the QC issues that they need to reorder or recut. And so recuts are automatically happening for us now, when previously it was a analog paper process, and that specifically we had people walking back and forth across the production floor, multiple times a day. So there's a few more benefits. We keep finding them daily. So.
Oh, nice. Exciting. Well, I want to come out and see this with my own eyes. Maybe we can do a factory tour or something and make that a good thing.
Anytime.
I did get a question pop up, and I'm sorry, this is something that I didn't make obvious earlier. Brian has mentioned that they're integrated with Cabinavision. We've also built integrations for the most popular software solutions here in the U.S. With Microvellum. Of course, we've talked about Cabinavision. We've done it with Emos. We've done it with Mosaic. But another beautiful thing is we have also created a very customizable import that just utilizes CSV or XLS. So that means that no matter what your data source is, as long as you can spit out for us a parts list that can give us information to know about what parts and what assemblies, then we can connect literally to anything. And so what I typically do when someone has a software other than those that we've built the core import functionality is I provide them over a sample of the XLS or CSV import so they can then determine what they need to do on their side to be able to populate their data to a spreadsheet. So don't worry, we'll be glad to help you figure that stuff out for sure. I do recognize that there are more solutions that require connection to. We just made the decision to do those deep level integrations with where the biggest market share was, and then to utilize the CSV or XLS import for others. The only thing that we're missing as a result of those that Brian gets, because he's got one of the mainstream, is that he gets to see a 3D visualization of what's being built, and he could also scan a part label and see the machining details of a part. Those are the two things that you don't get from the XLS or CSV import, but otherwise the system just works wonderfully, and we have a lot of customers that are using that import as well, so it can be very good. By the way, might also mention that also not all of your production data has to come from Cabinavision. I don't know about in Brian's case, but maybe they've got corbels or moldings or those kind of things can be easily added or merged into the work order that came from Cabinavision. So there's a lot of flexibility for that for sure. So I know that we're out of time for today. I want to, first of all, thank you again, Brian, for spending your time and wisdom and all that stuff for us. I really appreciate it. And I also want to thank everyone that attended today. It's exciting to me when I see people working on their business instead of just in their business, coming to learn something new and to understand what's possible to happen. I'll leave you with this. I have yet to speak to a customer of Production Coach that did not claim that they had a full return on investment in less than 6 months. So it can do some amazing things like what you've heard Brian describe for your factory. So anyway, please take the exit poll as we're getting off of the webcast. That will help us do a better job for you in the future or other people that choose to do that. You can learn a lot more information at our website at rsasolutions.com. We're happy to help. Reach out anytime. I want to thank everybody one last time and wish you a great day. Take care and God bless.